Hello everyone, this is Stephen Hewer with Synergistic Nutrition. Today I wanted to espouse the virtues of the egg. And I'm referring, of course, to eggs from chickens that have been pasture raised. The first product that I wanted to introduce to you was a product called Gut Balance. So decades ago, researchers discovered that they could actually introduce or inoculate into the body of a cow or a chicken microorganisms that the animal would then develop an antibody response to. And in the cow, that would result in the antibodies being put into the milk to protect the calf. And in the chicken, it resulted in the chicken producing antibodies in the egg. And so these are IgY antibodies. They create passive immunity. Passive immunity is an immunity where it's temporary. It temporarily kills the microorganisms that are in the body, causing an infection. Active immunity is where it's long-term immune system response. So this nice production of these IgY antibodies in the chicken egg yolk can be taken as a food now. And the net result is pretty profound. Taking it orally, you can actually lower the levels of zonulin in your digestive tract. So zonulin is a chemical produced in high amounts when you've got a leaky gut. It actually contributes to the destruction of the gut. So taking the IgY-rich hyperimmune egg is what it's called, lowers that. Also, this hyperimmune egg product can instruct the immune system to know when to attack or not to attack. Also, as a part of having a compromised digestive tract is chronic inflammation. And cytokines are the chemical produced in higher amounts to create inflammation, which is necessary in certain amounts to control and contribute to healing. Inflammation is a process that's needed to bring more circulation and nutrients to the tissues to contribute to their healing. But when it's chronic and excessive, then it becomes disease. So taking the hyperimmune egg actually helps lower cytokine, plus control it so that it's actually more intelligent in its response. Another cool thing about hyperimmune egg is oral health. If you make a paste of hyperimmune egg and you put it into your mouth, it actually helps heal the gingiva. So that's pretty important. Another benefit of the product here at Gut Balance is that it has Arabinogalactan in it. So Arabinogalactan is just a special fiber that is processed and derived from the larch tree. And it's a unique prebiotic fiber that, because of the patented process to extract it from the larch tree where there's no chemical residues or anything, it's really good for the body. They call that fiber aid. A neat thing about the Arabinogalactan is that it feeds the anaerobes of the gut, the lactobacilli, the bifidobacterium, and they in turn produce butyrate. And butyrate is the chemical that fuels the lining of the intestines and enables the intestinal wall to maintain its integrity and its health. Now, hyperimmune egg is also outstanding for our cardiovascular health and our muscle health. So they've done studies and shown that, when you give one group the hyperimmune egg and you give another group a placebo, just the protein powder that appears to be the hyperimmune egg, that the group that gets the hyperimmune egg experiences their heart rate going lower, which is pretty phenomenal, especially if you're exercising. To have a lower heart rate, you can exercise much more. And regarding muscle recovery and muscle soreness, it's also found that there's more strength when taking hyperimmune egg, faster muscle recovery, and less muscle soreness. So this is a phenomenal product for muscle health. Hyperimmune eggs also been given to people who are HIV positive, who have AIDS, for 48 weeks. And they found that they had multiple parameters of their health improvements, both physically and mentally, which is a big deal since the HIV compromised person needs constant immune support to feel their best. So studies done with hyperimmune egg show that it not only supports cardiovascular health, but it appears to support joint health as well. So Gut Balance supplies the body immunoglobulins and immunoregulatory factors that support both gut and whole body systemic health. Now, when it comes to fresh eggs, I want to educate you a little bit that there's a vast difference in the quality of eggs on the market nowadays. And fortunately, there's high-end, high-quality eggs that provide the body with much more medicinal effect than the lower quality eggs. I remember years ago when I went to Germany, I did stem cell therapy in Germany many years ago, and the hotel that we were staying at was kind of like a family operation. And so when we departed, they made us a sack lunch that we took on the plane. I remember when I busted open the hard-boiled eggs, the yolk was red-orange. I'd never seen red-orange color in an egg yolk. What those colors represent is the rich amount of carotenoids, beta-carotene, other carotenoids that's in the grasses and in the herbs that the chicken is eating as a part of its pasture diet, along with insects, enabled that chicken to produce such a nutrient-dense egg that the vitamin A levels are so high as to turn the yolk red-orange. That is the highest quality egg yolk you can find, highest quality egg. So ever since then, back in the States, I've never seen an egg yolk like that. The closest egg yolk I've ever seen come close to it comes from this brand here called Vital Farms. So here's a company out of Florida, I believe, that lets their chickens graze on the grasses and eat all the grass they want all day long, and their insects, and they produce an egg that is, got a fairly orangish color to it. If it got any oranger, it would start to turn red. So these are the most nutrient-dense, beneficial eggs that I have access to commercially. Other than going directly to a farmer, which I really don't have access to. Locally, I have farmers here that do produce eggs, but the awareness in my area is very low, so they still aren't qualifying the kind of feed that they feed them. And if I ask them if any of the grains or legumes that they feed them as a supplemental feed have been sprayed with glyphosate, because it's a common practice that even non-GMO grains and legumes are sprayed with glyphosate 3 days before harvest, thus contaminating that food, thus putting it into the food chain, and they can't answer that question. They have no awareness and no care about it. So I'm not interested in that. I want people that are aware, and I want people that are supporting the kind of agriculture that supports plant, animal, human, and honeybee health, everyone's health. So the reason that I bring up eggs is because, for your own diet, you can consume raw eggs and have this vast therapeutic effect on the body. Raw eggs have, the collagen, all the vitamin A, all the fats that are conducive to supporting the repair and the healing of the nervous system. This is just one of the most best superfoods you can ingest. They're easy to consume. I've done it for so long now. I love them raw. They taste great to me, but most people would find it unappealing. So all you have to do is put 2 to 4 raw eggs in the blender with some fresh fruit and some fresh fruit juice. Whether you want to do, handful of grapes and a little bit of grape juice, or whether you want to do a banana, some orange juice, whatever fruit is in season. And it's delicious. Back in my childhood days, there was a drink that you could buy down at the mall called an Orange Julius. And all an Orange Julius was fresh raw eggs blended up with orange juice. And it was delicious. And I recommend you give it a try. It's super delicious. There's a story that I like to tell that came from Aajonus Vonderplanitz. So Aajonus Vonderplanitz is the developer of the raw primal diet that reversed his diabetes, his bone cancer, his blood cancer. He reversed it all and gave him back illustrious health. He wrote a book called We Want to Live and another book called The Recipe for Living Without Disease, both of which can be found on the website live.com. We want to live.com. Highly recommend you go there. Highly recommend you buy those books. Highly recommend you buy the DVDs that are offered on that website. So Aajonus has helped thousands and thousands of people regain their health and recover from terminal illnesses. And one of the case histories was where a doctor contacted him on a Thursday and said, I have a patient that's been semi-bedridden for 2 years, is extremely sick, may not make it through the weekend. She's been administered here to the hospital. What do I do? Aajonus said, well, I recommend you give her access to as many fresh raw eggs as she wants to eat over the weekend. So they did. They bought her several dozen eggs, and she would consume as many eggs as she wanted whenever there was an appetite for them over the course of 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By Monday, she had so much vitality and well-being, she walked out of the hospital. Here you have a semi-bedridden person, completely recovered, that they're under their own volition, ambulatory, functional, able to walk again, just from doing a 3-day raw egg fast. And the total amount of eggs that she ate in that period of time, I believe it was 68. So a lot of eggs, but they're a living food. So long as, they haven't been frozen and then thawed again, they're a living food that can be easily assimilated, provide all kinds of nutrients for the body to, detoxify and repair all kinds of tissue. And so it's also been discovered that when you use egg whites topically, that there's a powerful medicinal effect to healing the skin or helping with a fever. And so in this newsletter that I hope you take the time to read, you'll read that there's one case history of a man that was spraying some kind of a pesticide and had to lift the lid off of the container for some reason because it wasn't working, and he decided to light a cigarette in the vicinity of it, ignited this vapor, and burned his face severely, and was in terror, screaming, and a neighbor came out from her house who knew what to do and brought out some eggs with her in a bowl and was screaming, "Bring out more eggs!" And she separated the egg white from the egg yolk and applied the egg white to this man's face. And when the fire department arrived, they said, you just saved this man's face. And a month later, the man with the burned face went to the lady's house and brought her some roses in thanks, and his skin was perfect. It was like a baby's. So pretty amazing, the egg white. Another case history is a woman that burned her hands, and she coated her hands in egg whites and left them on there for an hour. And there was then no pain, and the next day they were almost totally healed, and within 10 days there was no evidence that she'd ever burned her skin on her hands. And so apparently the fire department is fully aware of the value of egg whites and knows to use this in burn victim cases. And another, what some might call an old wives' tale, there was a case of a lady who had a very high fever to the point of hallucinations and delirium, that her mother was at her wit's end on what to do, and learned and applied using egg whites on a cloth that you apply to the feet. And so this actually drew the fever from the head all the way to the feet, where the feet can tolerate the heat better than the head. And this is a way to protect a person in cases of very high fevers, to reduce that by drawing the fever down to the feet. And that's another case history that's worked for using egg whites. So Gut Balance, of course, is available on our website. It's a product I use and find benefit of. I'm Stephen Hewer. Thank you for your time and attention. We look forward to helping you feel your best.